On May 11th, 1945, the aircraft carrier USS Bunker Hill earned a dubious honor as one of the most heavily damaged carriers to survive World War II. That was also the day my grandfather almost died. The Bunker Hill was supporting the invasion of Okinawa when a Japanese kamikaze pilot appeared from a low cloud. He dropped a 551-pound bomb which tore all the way through the ship and exploded in the ocean. The pilot crashed on the flight deck, destroying parked planes filled with fuel and starting a huge gasoline fire. 30 seconds later, another kamikaze appeared as if out of nowhere, flying through the smoke and fired to drop another 551-pound bomb, this one exploding near the boiler room, causing more gasoline fires and several more explosions, and the plane crashed near the superstructure. And when it was all over, after 18 hours of fighting fires, 43 men were missing, 264 were wounded, and each of the 346 men who had died were put into a plain white cotton bag with a 5-inch shell between their legs and solemnly buried at sea. My grandfather was not one of those men. On the morning of May 11th, he and another sailor met at the ladder going up on deck, and the other sailor went first. He emerged just as the first kamikaze hit, killing him instantly, but providentially saving my grandfather's life. Now, being married and having 3 kids, my grandfather had been exempted from joining the service, but he felt it was his duty. And I owe the life I have today to men like my grandfather, who served our country more out of necessity than from obligation. And I owe my life to men like the unknown sailor who just happened to climb a ladder ahead of my grandfather. Because freedom is never free. Every one of us is a debtor. Because freedom is never free. Every one of us is in debt to our nation, to our God. Because of the sacrifices made on our behalf, all of us are debtors. So on Memorial Day, we remember and appreciate those who fought for our freedom. Our tradition is to go to a couple of little cemeteries in northern Wisconsin where church ladies will lead us in a couple of songs. The commander of the local VFW will say a few words and salute the flag. And an ancient color guard will fire ancient weapons in a 21-gun salute. We used to pick up the still warm shell casings for the kids, but now we leave those for another generation of youngsters. We visit and clean the grave sites and headstones of my father, my grandparents, and other relatives buried in these little cemeteries. We remember and we appreciate and we acknowledge our debt. And we do pretty much the same thing every Sunday. We have the Lord's Supper or communion, which is a memorial service instituted by Jesus. Listen to what the Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 23 through 26. For I received from the Lord what I also passed on to you. The Lord Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And in the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink it in remembrance of me. For whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes." Long before, over 600,000 fought and died in the Civil War, and 116,000 in World War I, and 407,000 in World War II, and 58,000 in Vietnam. Long before any of these fought and died for our freedom, Jesus fought and died for our freedom. At memorial services and little cemeteries all across the country, we remember and appreciate and acknowledge our debt to those who gave their lives for us. And at Jesus' memorial service, we remember and appreciate and acknowledge our debt to him.